Stop. Do not close the refrigerator door just yet. There are 6 familiar kitchen items that, if you are storing them in the refrigerator the so-called right way, you might actually be damaging their nutrition every single day. And the most frustrating part is this. Most people only realize it after the food has gone bad, in a way you cannot see with your eyes. You might be thinking, the refrigerator is the safest place. Cold means clean. Cold means good. That sounds logical. But your body does not live on what sounds logical. Your body lives on the nutrients that remain, the flavors that are still real, and microorganisms that are not triggered the wrong way. This is not just about bread going dry, tomatoes turning mushy, or avocados browning. The real problem is that some foods, when chilled, lose the very things you are eating them for your health. Compounds that support your heart, your gut, and your brain can be reduced. And sometimes refrigeration even creates an environment that makes these foods break down faster. In this video, I am going to point out 6 types of foods that many people in the United States casually put into the refrigerator out of habit, and then later wonder why does it not taste as good anymore? Why has my stomach been feeling off lately? Why do I feel weaker even though I am still eating healthy? But wait, do not jump straight to the list yet. I want you to do one thing first. Think of your refrigerator as a cold, damp, slightly smelly room where everything lives together. In that space, some foods absorb odors, some have their structure damaged, some have their ability to develop flavor completely shut down, and some foods, when you finally take them out to cook, are only then starting to cause trouble. Item number 2 on this list is something almost everyone has done, and once you understand how it is affected, you will not want to put it in the refrigerator again, not even overnight. But item number 1 is what really makes people mad. It still looks fine. It still seems edible. But the price you pay is in something you do not notice right away. Today's list of 6 items will go in countdown order, and we will touch on categories that are extremely common in American kitchens. Breakfast foods, sandwich ingredients, something you mix or brew every day. Vegetables that people assume are better the colder they are. And one so-called superfood that many believe protects the brain, but is often stored the wrong way. Before we begin, I want you to leave a quick comment. Which state or city in the United States are you watching from? And out of these 6 items, which one do you keep in the refrigerator most often? I read the comments to understand common habits, because sometimes fixing just one small thing can make a noticeable difference in your daily meals. Alright, get ready. Item number 6 will surprise you, because it does not go bad in the way you think. And item number 2, I am warning you now, will make you want to check your refrigerator as soon as this is over. Item number 6, bread, the thing you think you are refrigerating just to be safe, but it is actually dying faster. Let us start with something extremely familiar, so familiar that almost no one ever questions it. Bread. A lot of people in the United States have an almost automatic reflex. They buy bread, do not finish it, and put it in the refrigerator. It sounds reasonable. Cold means slower spoilage. Cold means cleaner. But when it comes to bread, that is a costly misunderstanding. Here is the truth. Bread does not go bad quickly because it is warm. It goes bad quickly because it is chilled the wrong way. When you put bread in the refrigerator, you trigger a quiet but brutal process. The starch inside the bread begins to rearrange its structure. Water gets pushed out. The crumb loses its elasticity. No mold is needed. No strange smell is required. It still looks fine. But on the inside, the bread is aging at several times its normal speed. That is why some loaves become dry, hard, and crumbly after just a few days in the refrigerator, even though you have not seen a single spot of mold. And if you are thinking, I will just toast it and fix it. No. Heat only warms up what has already lost moisture. It cannot restore the original structure. There is another detail that most people miss, and that is flavor. Good bread is not just flour and yeast. It is delicious because of a wide range of aroma compounds that are extremely sensitive. The refrigerator effectively silences those compounds. That is why refrigerated bread often tastes flat, lifeless, like you are chewing something just to feel full, not something meant to be enjoyed. So, if you eat bread for convenience, the refrigerator actually makes it less convenient. If you eat it for taste, the refrigerator takes that taste away. The right way is very simple. If you plan to eat it within a few days, keep it at room temperature in a paper bag or a breathable container. If you want to keep it longer, slice it and put it straight into the freezer, not the refrigerator. Fast freezing preserves the structure far better than slow chilling. When you want to eat it, put it directly from the freezer into the toaster. Do not thaw it first. That is when moisture starts to damage the bread. Many people are surprised when they learn this. But hold on, because item number 5 is even more disappointing, especially if you cannot start your morning without it. Item number 5, coffee, the thing you think you are keeping fresh, but is actually absorbing everything around it. If you are storing coffee in the refrigerator, I need you to listen closely to this part. Not because you are doing something wrong, but because a lot of people do exactly the same thing, and they are all surprised when their coffee starts tasting worse and worse without knowing why. Coffee beans are not like most foods. They are porous, like a sponge. And a refrigerator is not a neutral place. It is a space full of smells, leftovers, cheese, sauces, cut vegetables. Your coffee is not just sitting there. It is absorbing all of it. But odor is only the surface problem. The real issue is moisture. Every time you open and close the refrigerator, the temperature changes. Condensation forms, and the coffee begins to degrade. Quietly, gradually, every single day, it becomes just a little less aromatic. Then there are the coffee oils, which hold most of the flavor. When they are chilled, they solidify. When you grind and brew the coffee, those oils do not release properly. The result is a cup of coffee that looks right and is hot enough, but feels like it is missing its soul. Many people react by adding more sugar, more cream, more syrup, but that is just covering things up. The real damage already happened at the storage stage. The right way is not complicated at all. Coffee needs to be dry, dark, and kept at a stable temperature. Room temperature, an airtight container. Not transparent. Not near the stove, and by only what you can use within a short period of time. Coffee was never meant to be stored long term. There is one exception, and I want to be very clear so there is no confusion. If you absolutely must store coffee for a long time, the freezer is better than the refrigerator, but only once. Freeze it, thaw it, and use it all. Do not repeat the cycle. Every freeze and thaw tears the flavor apart a little more. This is the moment when many people start questioning their own habits. And that is a good thing, because item number 4 is coming next. And it is not a drink. It is something you often put in the refrigerator because you are afraid it will spoil if left out. But the truth is, the cold itself is what is weakening it from the inside. And item number 2 is still waiting. Item number 4. Tomatoes, they still look red and beautiful. But on the inside, the volume has been turned off. There is something very strange about tomatoes in the refrigerator. They do not rot right away. They do not smell bad. And because of that, most people never realize that something is wrong. You open the refrigerator drawer. You see tomatoes that are still red, still firm, still looks edible. But the truth is, the cold does not just make tomatoes softer. It directly interferes with how tomatoes function as a food. Tomatoes are not ordinary vegetables. They are a fruit that relies on a very delicate system of biological reactions to create flavor and nutrients. When the temperature drops too low, that system is cut off. It does not slow down. It does not weaken. It stops completely. When you put tomatoes in the refrigerator, a whole series of flavor-forming reactions gets shut down. The compounds responsible for that real tomato aroma stop being produced. And the worst part is this: they do not fully turn back on, even when you take the tomatoes out and let them warm up. That is why refrigerated tomatoes often taste hollow. Not exactly bad, but no longer the tomato you were expecting. Like a piece of music missing its main melody. For older adults, this is not just about taste. Tomatoes are an important source of compounds that help protect the heart and fight oxidation. But those compounds only have real value when the cell structure remains intact. Cold temperatures damage that structure from the inside, creating harm that the naked eye cannot see. You can notice it through a very familiar sign. Refrigerated tomatoes often become mealy, mushy, and release water when cut. That is not because they are overripe. It is because the cell walls have been broken down. The right way is extremely simple. Keep tomatoes at room temperature, away from direct sunlight. Place them stem side down to reduce moisture entering the fruit. Do not trap them in sealed bags. They need to breathe. And if the tomatoes are already overripe, do not put them in the refrigerator. Cook them instead. Interestingly, properly cooked tomatoes are actually easier for the body to absorb than fresh tomatoes that have been chilled. Many people stop here and say, "All right, That is enough. No, because item number 3 is the one that makes many people shake their heads in disbelief until they experience it for themselves. Item number 3. Honey, a natural perfection that really does not like the cold. If there is one thing in the kitchen that humans have used for thousands of years without a refrigerator, it is honey. And yet today, many people still put it in the refrigerator. Why? Because they think, just to be safe. Just to keep it clean. Just for peace of mind. But honey does not operate on that modern logic. Honey is alive, not in the sense that it contains bacteria, but in the sense that it is a perfectly stable system, dry, highly concentrated, and self-protecting. When you chill it, you disrupt that balance. The first thing that happens is crystallization. Many people see honey solidify and think, that is fine, I will just warm it up. But the real problem is not the texture. It is the moisture. Every time you open a cold jar of honey, water vapor from the air condenses inside. And for honey, water is the enemy. Moisture opens the door to unwanted reactions. The very things that slowly strip honey of the qualities people have valued since ancient times. There is another point that very few people notice. Honey is valuable not just because it is sweet. It is valuable because of its natural protective compounds. The same reason it was once used as a kind of primitive antibiotic throughout history. These compounds are more sensitive to low temperatures than most people realize. When honey is refrigerated, it does not die right away. It slowly loses its identity. The flavor becomes flatter. The aroma becomes simpler. And the real value, the part you buy it for your health, gets worn away bit by bit. That is why some expensive jars of honey, after sitting in the refrigerator for a few months, make you wonder, why does this taste no different from syrup? The right way is simple. Room temperature, an airtight container. Away from direct sunlight. That is all. If your honey has crystallized, do not panic. Place the jar in warm water. Be patient, and stir gently. It will return, without needing emergency treatment from the refrigerator. And here is a small but important detail to remember. The darker the honey, the more sensitive it is to cold. The most valuable compounds are also the most fragile ones. At this point, many people start to realize something important. The refrigerator is not always the hero. And item number 2 is coming up. And it will force you to reconsider a habit you have followed for years, almost without ever questioning it. Item number 2. Onions. The thing you put in the refrigerator to make it less pungent. But that actually opens the door to something more dangerous. A lot of people push back the moment they hear this one. If onions do not go in the refrigerator, then where do they go? I have been doing this for decades and nothing has happened. That is exactly why item number 2 is dangerous. Onions do not spoil right away when you put them in the refrigerator. They do not show obvious color changes either. But on the inside, everything starts falling out of rhythm almost immediately. A refrigerator is a humid environment, and onions hate moisture. The moment you place a whole onion in the refrigerator, moisture begins to move through its thin outer layers. It does not take weeks. Just a few days. That is when onions start to feel unusually soft. Their smell begins to change, and their internal structure weakens. But this is the part older adults need to pay close attention to. When onions are chilled, they convert starch into sugar. This makes the onion taste strangely sharp and sweet at the same time. More importantly, it changes how onions behave when cooked. Dishes that rely on slow caramelization, soups, stir-fries, and sauces, start turning out worse, and you do not understand why. An even bigger risk lies in mold. Whole onions stored in the refrigerator can create an ideal environment for certain molds that are not immediately visible to the naked eye. By the time you notice mold, it is often already too late. And if you are thinking, I will just peel off the outer layer. No, once the structure has been affected by moisture and cold, the inside is no longer as trustworthy as it was before. The right way sounds old-fashioned, but it is correct. Whole onions need a dry, well-ventilated, moderately dark place. A mesh bag, a basket. Even hanging them is fine. No plastic, no sealed containers, no refrigerator. There is one exception, and you need to remember this clearly. Cut onions must go into the refrigerator in an airtight container and be used quickly. But whole onions, the refrigerator is not your friend. And now, we come to item number 1. This one is not just stored the wrong way, it is also deeply misunderstood. Item number 1. Avocados, the food you eat for your brain, but the cold is taking away exactly that benefit. If you remember only one thing after this video, remember this. Avocados were not meant to live in the refrigerator. That may sound extreme, but hear me out. Avocados are not like apples, not like oranges, not like vegetables. Avocados are one of the very few foods whose greatest value comes from healthy fats, the kind of fats an older brain depends on to maintain memory, reflexes, and mental clarity. And those fats are extremely sensitive to cold. When you put an unripe avocado in the refrigerator, the ripening process does not just stop. It gets pushed in the wrong direction. Internal reactions become disorganized. The fats no longer develop properly. The cell structure slowly breaks down. So what do you get? An avocado that still looks fine on the outside, but when you cut it open, it feels rubbery, grainy, watery, and strangely bland. The creamy richness is gone. That nourishing, brain-supporting feeling you expect is no longer there. Even worse, cold temperatures can trigger unwanted oxidation reactions in the fats. Instead of helping the body fight inflammation and aging, a chilled avocado slowly loses that protective power. That is why many people eat avocados regularly and still think, why do I not feel any clear benefits? It is not because avocados are not good for you. It is because you removed the best part before you ever ate them. The right way is very simple, but it requires patience. Keep unripe avocados at room temperature with good airflow. If you want them to ripen faster, place them in a paper bag with a banana. Once an avocado is ripe, you can put it in the refrigerator for a maximum of 1 to 2 days if you truly need to, but the quality has already declined. And here is a small but extremely valuable tip. If you cut an avocado and do not use it all, keep the pit, brush the surface lightly with lemon juice, and store it in an airtight container with a piece of onion. Not to eat together, but to slow browning without ruining the flavor. The difference between a properly stored avocado and one kept in the refrigerator is not just about taste. It is about whether you are nourishing your body or slowly weakening it every single day. 6 foods. 6 very common habits. Not because you did anything wrong, but because no one ever clearly explained it to you. The refrigerator is not bad, but when it is used the wrong way, it takes away far more than you realize. And now, here is the most important question. Out of these 6 foods, which one have you been keeping in the refrigerator for years without ever questioning it? If you have watched until this point, you are probably looking at your refrigerator differently now. No longer as a harmless box, but as a tool, one that can help or harm depending on how you use it. 6 foods, 6 common habits, and what they all have in common is not that leaving them out is dangerous, but that cold does not always mean protection. The most thought-provoking part is not how many nutrients were lost. It is how many years people have eaten carefully, chosen healthy foods, and yet unknowingly removed the most valuable part of those foods simply because of an old habit. You do not need to buy new foods. You do not need expensive supplements. You just need to put the right food in the right place. And here is the most important point of all. These small changes do not give you an instant burst of energy. They are not like strong coffee. They are like reducing daily wear and tear on your body. Slowly, but steadily. If you are 50, 60, or 70 years old, your body does not need more things. It needs fewer mistakes. And you have just eliminated some of the biggest ones. Now I want to ask you one question, and please answer honestly in the comments. Out of the 6 foods today, which one surprised you the most? And which one have you been keeping in the refrigerator for years without ever doubting it? Reading other people's comments is valuable too. You will realize that you are not the only one. If this video made you rethink even just one habit, tap like so. I know you want to see more content like this. And if you want to keep learning how to eat smarter as you get older, subscribe to the channel. No noise, no fear tactics, just things you really should have known earlier. In the next video, I will talk about foods that older adults often avoid by mistake, even though they can strongly support the brain, the heart, and memory when used the right way. And trust me, there is at least one food you are completely overlooking. I will see you in the next video.